a sample made. I was gonna see if we all liked them or not.
Nice. What you think, Joey? Good?
Last time, it was me and Collin carrying all the beer on a sketchy cart like 3 blocks. 2 trips, parked on the 11th floor of the parking garage. It was a nightmare. Hey, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Getting ready. Let me know what I can help with.
We're about to come back down and grab all of the pizza and beer in about 2 seconds.
I'll come back down with you.
You can fit, Tim.
Yeah, you think so?
There we go.
To you live from downtown Houston. We work downtown here at Energy Tech Night. Got a great crowd, have about 100 people that have already walked in, showed up. I think we're expecting somewhere around 130 people. Got 3 startups presenting. We got Corva, 2DA Analytics, and Nesh. And then Badass panel. Yeah.
Trevin Vaughn, Roland Reyes, Chris Robart, 3 rock stars.
Moderated by yours truly, Jacob Corley. So it's gonna be a good night. We're gonna go in here, get it kicked off, get it started, and we'll catch up with you guys soon. Everyone, we're gonna get the show started, so if you wanna come take a seat, gather around, grab a beer, we're gonna get kicked off. Corva's gonna be presenting first.
More beer, more pizza afterwards, promise.
We'll have more beer and pizza afterwards, we promise. There's plenty of it. First up, we're gonna have my man Roy from Corva. Come on, Roy.
Couple things, it's just some of our fun shenanigans we get into, some of our customers up here, and really who we are as a company, right? So we are the fun tech company in oil and gas.
The other truly amazing thing here is that in 12 months time, we went from 3 rigs to over 120 just in 18. So it's 4,000% growth. That's across Canada and the US. It's been a long, hard ride, it's been a grind, but I think this really speaks to the need for a platform like this in this industry.
And we've seen some great outcomes from this. Some of these things range from like real-time rotary trend analysis to real-time torque and drag to monitoring your tool face consistency while sliding, and then things like predicted calculations so that you can see some very hazardous situations coming at you, right? The really cool thing is that all of these apps combined are doing things for our clients that are saving them millions of dollars a year. It's unreal that what these tools can do when they're put in the hands of people who know what to do with them. As you can see, it's 100% customizable. Folks latch onto this. We have a phone app. A lot of our folks use this on a phone or a tablet mostly. I mean, you look around the room right now with the person sitting next to you, right? Somebody's texting, somebody's reading an email, whatever. But we live and breathe by our phones. And so they're able to do these things from their phone in real time. And so this has just been a huge win for us, right? And we are the Corva Nation.
obviously we have all these fantastic startups, all the startups that presented tonight. We've had 34 startups on the Oil and Gas Startups podcast so far, and there's hundreds of more in this ecosystem. But every time we add a new startup, we add a significant amount of data.
My perspective, some of the challenges is in one of the sort of concepts you highlighted originally. We're collecting all this data, but right now we are depending, at least in the operations side, this differs in other segments, in the operations sides, we are heavily depending on the humans to do all the analysis. So the challenge is, the more data you bring in, the more humans you need to actually look at it. They have very, very little time to proactively just sit there and sort through time series data, right? And the tools that exist now don't really give you the capabilities to automate a lot of that analysis, and it doesn't surface those insights that sit in that data, even in some of the really low quality data, to the users and gives them the information to help them figure out what they need to do with that.
There's about 4,000 to 6,000 E&Ps that don't fall in the mom and pop category, but also don't fall in the large, not the super majors, but there's not the Anadarkos and the Apaches and stuff like that, right? So I worked with a lot of those companies, and most of those don't have any kind of tech department. They don't even have an IT guy. I mean, they're lucky if they do. And so, like, once again, you said it's these multidisciplinary, maybe engineers, hopefully. Do you feel like maybe there should be a different strategy for those companies, or is there really any hope for data strategy? I mean, I think luckily there's great companies like Ambient and Corva and these other guys who make great products that are super easy to use, where you don't really need a huge staff for that, right?
Unfortunately, you need to bring a lot of folks together that have the engineering background, that have the actual field experience from a, again, from a production perspective, in his case, a drilling perspective, but also the guys that understand data science, the guys that understand data management.
I think one thing that's really important to remember for those of you that are in a management position or a CIO, things like that, is if you have these people that are cross-disciplinary and you've been able to get them in your organization, I think it's really important for you to incentivize them to stay and create programs and incentive programs that will keep them around the long term, because I think that those people are going to become more and more valuable, and they're going to become more scarce because people like me are going to try to poach them. So I think it's really important for y'all to focus on your employees.
A lot of other industries are talking about collaboration in terms of data, right? Whether that's collaboration with their competitors. We've seen a lot of stuff. There was an article recently about some companies in Europe, some oil and gas companies are now sharing data. They are competitors, but they're trying to essentially, what's the quote? Like, a rising seas raise all boats or something like that? Yeah, I don't know. Right. We haven't really seen anything like that too much here in the U.S. We've seen a little bit offshore in the Gulf of Mexico, but there's that kind of collaboration. There's also cross-departmental collaboration within some of the organizations. I've seen a few really, really good examples of that. Do you guys think that either of those kind of types of collaboration will play any kind of part in kind of the digital transformation of this space?
From my experience working within an E&P company and a midstream company, I think sometimes on the corporate side you have misalignment of interest between departments in an organization, and they're both trying to make their bonuses, they're both trying to prove their value within the organization, and so sometimes it's, I think, more difficult to cooperate internally than it is to cooperate externally, and I think that's pretty ironic. But I think that with the startup companies that we're talking to and working with, there's a high degree, and I think that this also is driven by a lot of the groups that are doing this. They're mostly late millennials, or they're at the tail of the X generation. So they have a innate desire to work collaboratively, and I think that's very valuable for the industry as a whole.
And I think in general too, again, it comes down to the company as well, right? Because I think from like a large company E&P perspective, a lot of people view data as a competitive advantage as well. So it could be hard to kind of let that mindset go.
Oil companies, I'll speak diplomatically. Oil companies should consider that once the land, the acreage has been acquired and secured, there isn't really competition anymore, right? So yes, people want to outperform the market, relative to other peers in that market. But I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration that can occur from, for everyone improving with better collaboration, better sharing of data. But they're getting there step by step.
So speaking of that, let's talk about cybersecurity. So we have more sensors, more IoT-enabled devices, drones, SCADA, you name it. Are we paying enough attention to cybersecurity?
How many companies like Equifax or even Target, all these companies have gotten hacked, and as a consumer, you're just kind of used to it now, right? And you're used to someone kind of bailing you out. So in general, I think there needs to be kind of a cultural shift or a cultural mindset to increase security personally yourself?
There are, let's say by and large, for the aspects of the organization they can touch and control, by and large doing a good job. There are other individuals in other parts of the organization that could not care less about security. We, for all our luck, we try to sell security to operations engineering folks. They could care less, right? So when we get to the IT folks, they care, they're interested. We have to go through our process.
I think the biggest failure within the security is always people. So I think that the lack of training within organizations, the ability for people to get to easily into areas that they should not be able to access, I think that's the biggest security flaw. And until organizations actually realize that and they start getting hacked and data stolen and it's actually causing them monetary damage, they're not going to pay enough attention. But I think that'll be something we see rising in the future.
What's up, guys? Great event tonight. Thank you for everybody who made it out. We had about 130 people show?
Hey, yeah,
somewhere
wasn't that
in
much,
there.
but-
Great turnout. A lot of really cool people in the room. Great presentations from Corva, 2DA, Nesh. It was really cool to see how their technology actually worked. Obviously, we've had them all on the podcast. We've had the opportunity to see Corva's presentation before. Obviously, they sponsored this, so we're lucky enough to have seen that.
Shout out to Corva.
Shout out to Corva, love those guys. But it was cool to see 2DA's, and it was cool to see Nesh's technology and how that could actually be used, obviously in upstream, and then 2DA's was actually downstream. So that's pretty cool. We had a pretty good panel. We had Trevin Vaughn, we had Chris Robard, and we had Roland Reyes, a great group of guys. Had a lot of tough questions for them, some questions from the audience. Did I miss anything? Great beer?
No,
Beer, pizza.
Yeah, it was a good night. Good night as always. It's really hard to throw a bad event in this space just because the people make the event.
Yeah.
And so just having a room full of high quality people, it's what makes this thing go round. So appreciate everyone that came out. Next Energy Tech Night will probably be in September. We'll catch you guys at that one.